Cruise vacations look like paradise sunsets at sea, endless buffets, and luxury cabins. But behind that glossy brochure image lies a world of secrets the cruise lines desperately don't want you to know. Some of these will shock you, others could save you thousands, and a few might even change the way you look at cruises forever. Let's pull back the curtain and reveal 12 shocking cruise secrets your cruise line doesn't want you to ever find out about. Secret number 1. Your cabin isn't as private as you think. Most passengers assume once they close the cabin door, they're in their own private sanctuary. The truth, cruise staff can access your cabin at almost any time. Even when you place that do not disturb sign, security and stewards have override keys. There are stories of crew walking in unannounced, sometimes for legitimate reasons, but sometimes not. And here's the real kicker. Every single cabin has surveillance points in the hallways right outside your door, tracking who goes in and out. Cruise lines monitor passenger movement far more than they admit. They don't tell you this because they want you to believe you're fully in control of your privacy. So, next time you think your room is your little hideaway at sea, remember, you're never really alone. Would that change how you behave on board? Secret number 2. The cheapest cabins can make you sick. That amazing deal you found on an inside cabin, it comes with a hidden cost most passengers don't realize until it's too late. Inside cabins have no windows, no fresh air, and very poor circulation. On longer cruises, passengers often complain about headaches, nausea, and even mild depression, something the industry quietly calls cabin fever syndrome. Some crew members will tell you privately that they refuse to sleep in those spaces for long stretches. Why? Because stale, recycled air and constant artificial lighting can affect your body more than you think. And if you're unlucky enough to be placed near the ship's engines or under a busy deck, you'll also hear vibrations and noise all night long. The cruise line won't warn you about this because selling out those cheap cabins is how they pack the ship full. But here's the insider tip. If you must book an inside room, bring a portable air purifier or even a small light therapy lamp. Otherwise, that budget-friendly choice could ruin your trip. Secret number 3. Your drinks are watered down. That $12 cocktail you're sipping by the pool. Chances are it's not as strong as you think. Many former bartenders and crew members admit the alcohol-to-mixer ratio on cruise ships is far weaker than at a typical land bar. Why? Cruise lines save millions every year by quietly cutting the liquor content. And here's the real stinger. Some unlimited drinks packages sound like an amazing deal, but passengers are shocked when they realize they're downing glass after glass of sugary mixers with just a splash of alcohol. Plus, if the staff notices you're drinking too much, they're trained to slow service or even cut you off. Yes, even if you paid thousands for that unlimited package. Ever wonder why you rarely see drunk passengers stumbling around, despite all-you-can drink promos? That's by design. Cruise lines keep you feeling buzzed, not wasted, because wasted passengers complain, fight, and cost money. So next time you order that piña colada, just know you're mostly paying for pineapple juice. Secret number 4. All you can eat. Isn't really all you can eat. Cruise marketing loves to flaunt those massive buffets and endless dining options. But here's a little-known truth. Portion control is a calculated strategy. Crew kitchens operate on strict limits for expensive ingredients. Think steak, seafood, and specialty desserts. Passengers who order unlimited lobster at certain events often notice they're served tiny tails, or told supplies have mysteriously run out. Ever wonder why waiters recommend chicken or pasta when you ask for seconds of prime rib? It's because the cruise line doesn't want you devouring their most expensive stock. Former crew confess that popular items like fresh shrimp are deliberately rotated at odd hours, so not everyone gets them. By the time most passengers wander in, those premium trays are conveniently empty. Sure, you'll never starve, but the myth of unlimited indulgence, that's just another illusion designed to keep you booking. Secret number 5. Hidden fees are waiting to ambush you. You booked your dream cruise, thinking the ticket price covered everything. Wrong. Cruise lines rely on hidden fees, the same way airlines rely on baggage charges. From daily gratuities quietly added to your bill, to service charges on drinks, to premium dining up charges, these extras can easily add hundreds to your trip. Some passengers even report being shocked at the end of cruise bill, with charges they never knowingly approved. And here's something most passengers don't realize. Even free perks like complimentary room service often come with hidden delivery fees or mandatory tips. That $5 soda in your minibar, it might end up costing closer to $10 once the fine print fees are tacked on. Cruise lines will never brag about this system because it's their golden goose. They lure you in with a low price, then quietly nickel and dime you once you're trapped at sea. But that's nothing compared to what's coming next, because secret number 6 exposes something so serious it could change the way you think about cruise ship safety forever. Secret number 6. Crime on board is more common than you think when you're on a cruise. It feels like a floating paradise where nothing bad could ever happen. But here's the reality. Crime at sea happens far more often than cruise lines want passengers to know. The most shocking part, Cruise companies aren't legally required to report every single crime to the public. The U.S. Coast Guard and FBI receive reports, but many incidents never make headlines. Passengers have gone missing, theft occurs regularly, and even violent crimes happen, but unless it's extreme enough to spark media attention, cruise lines keep it quiet to protect their reputation. Imagine this: you leave your phone charging in your cabin, step out for a show, and when you return, it's gone. The crew investigates, but you're told there's no proof. Or, worse cases of assault get buried in internal investigations that rarely end in passenger justice. Most passengers have no idea they're boarding a vessel where law enforcement is murky and jurisdiction depends on where the ship is registered. Cruise lines love to talk about safety drills, but when it comes to actual crime, silence. So the next time you're lulled into that sense of carefree safety, remember, you're floating in international waters, where justice isn't always guaranteed. Secret number 7. The medical center can bankrupt you. You might assume that if you get sick on a cruise, the onboard medical center is there to help, like a normal hospital. But what they don't tell you is just how expensive and limited that care can be. A simple doctor's visit on board can cost hundreds of dollars. If you need x-rays, medication, or even IV fluids, the bill can easily skyrocket into the thousands. And here's the worst part: many insurance plans won't fully cover cruise ship medical treatment, especially once the ship sails into international waters. Picture this: you wake up with food poisoning or a nasty fever. You head down to the medical deck, only to find out that every single treatment, yes, even basic painkillers, gets charged directly to your cabin account. Passengers have reported being billed $3,000 or more for conditions that would have cost under $200 at home. The cruise line doesn't advertise this, because they want you to feel safe and cared for at sea. But in reality, getting sick on board can be one of the costliest mistakes of your vacation. Always pack your own medical kit. And consider international travel insurance, because one accident could drain your savings. Secret number 8. Crew cabins are tiny, windowless, and hidden below deck. You've probably walked by crew members with big smiles, thinking they live nearly the same luxury you do, just in smaller rooms. But the truth, crew cabins are some of the most cramped, hidden, and exhausting living spaces imaginable. Most are tucked away on the lowest decks, deep below the passenger areas. They're windowless, often shared by 2 or 3 people, and barely large enough to turn around, and crew work 10 to 14-hour shifts, sometimes for months without a single day off. Then retreat to these tiny bunks where privacy doesn't exist. And here's a secret you'll never hear in the cruise brochure. Crew members use secret passageways, called I-95 corridors, to move unseen around the ship. You'll never find them unless you're escorted below deck. These hidden hallways allow staff to appear and disappear, like ghosts, maintaining that illusion of effortless service for guests. Once you know this, the ship feels different. While you're lounging by the pool, remember there's an entire hidden city operating below your feet, one the cruise line never wants you to glimpse. Secret number 9. Swimming pools are dirtier than you imagine. The sparkling blue pool may look inviting, but appearances can be deceiving. Cruise pools aren't regulated by the same strict health codes as pools on land. In fact, many are filled with salt water that's only lightly treated, and cleaning schedules aren't nearly as frequent as you'd think. Former crew members admit that pools are sometimes closed overnight, not for maintenance, but to skim debris and quietly shock them with chemicals after heavy use. And with thousands of passengers climbing in and out daily, think sunscreen, sweat, spilled drinks, and worse, you can imagine what's really floating around. Here's the disturbing part: outbreaks of norovirus and other illnesses have been traced back to contaminated pool water. Yet cruise lines downplay these risks. Because who would book a luxury vacation if they knew the pool was basically a petri dish? So before you dive in, ask yourself, do you really want to swallow a mouthful of that water? But as shocking as dirty pools might sound, the next secret reveals something that happens behind the kitchen doors, and it will make you question every single bite of food on board. Secret number 10. Food safety isn't as perfect as advertised. Cruise buffets look endless, glamorous, and fresh. But behind the galley doors, it's a very different story. With thousands of passengers to feed daily, shortcuts are taken more often than you'd think. Former galley staff have admitted that food gets reused between meals. Leftover bacon from breakfast, it might be chopped into tomorrow's pasta dish. Desserts that don't get eaten one night, they're repackaged for the next. Cruise lines operate like floating cities, and throwing out perfectly good food is too costly, so instead, it's recycled in ways passengers would never notice. But it gets worse. Foodborne illness outbreaks at sea are more common than you realize. Norovirus, Salmonella, even E. coli, there have been multiple documented cases over the years. The cruise line never puts that in the brochure, of course. And when outbreaks happen, kitchens go into overdrive with sanitizers and cover-ups rather than public warnings. Imagine piling your plate with shrimp cocktail, not knowing it's been sitting out longer than it should, or eating a fresh fruit salad that's already been repurposed from breakfast leftovers. Most passengers have no idea. So next time you load up your plate, ask yourself, How fresh is this food really? Secret number 11. Passenger tracking is more intense than you think. You probably know your cruise card doubles as your room key and onboard credit. But did you realize it's also a tracking device? Every time you swipe it, whether buying a drink, entering a restaurant, or stepping off the ship, your movements are logged. Cruise lines justify this by saying it helps with personalized service. In reality, it's about data. They know when you shop, when you drink, how much you spend, and where you linger. Some ships even use wearable wristbands or facial recognition cameras to take that tracking to the next level. Why? Because that data is gold. It allows cruise lines to push targeted offers, upsell packages, and maximize onboard spending. You might think it's a coincidence when a bartender remembers your favorite drink or when a flyer shows up under your door for a jewelry sale right after you walked past the shop. It's not. It's the system at work. Here's the part they don't want you to know. Even your time ashore is logged. When you scan back on board, staff know exactly how long you were gone and whether you spent money at their partner shops in port. So while you're relaxing at sea, remember, you're being watched far more closely than you think. Secret number 12. Cruise ships dump more waste than you'd believe. The sparkling waters of the Caribbean or Mediterranean might look pristine from your balcony. But what happens beneath the waves is far less glamorous. Cruise ships produce enormous amounts of waste every single day, everything from sewage to food scraps to gray water. While modern ships have advanced treatment systems, not all waste is processed on board. In fact, environmental watchdog groups have repeatedly exposed cruise lines for dumping partially treated or even untreated waste directly into the ocean once they're far enough offshore. And here's the scary part. Many of these discharges are completely legal under international law. Think about it. Thousands of passengers, thousands of crew, endless meals, drinks, and showers. Multiply that by a week at sea. Where do you think all that waste goes? Not everything is offloaded at port. Some of it goes straight into the ocean, where passengers sipping cocktails above deck never realize. Environmental groups have called cruises the most polluting form of leisure travel. But the industry doesn't want you thinking about that while you're watching dolphins from your balcony. So the next time you admire that perfect blue water, remember, it may not be as untouched as it looks. Cruise lines sell you a dream, luxury, adventure, and carefree relaxation. But behind the champagne toasts and Broadway shows, there's an underworld of secrets they hope you never question. From watered-down drinks to dirty pools, hidden crime to environmental pollution, the reality is far more complicated than glossy brochures let on. Does that mean you shouldn't cruise? Not at all. But knowing these secrets gives you power. Power to protect yourself, save money, and see past the illusion. Because the truth is simple. The happiest passengers aren't the ones who believe the marketing. They're the ones who know what's really going on behind the scenes. So the next time you step on board, remember you're not just a guest. You're part of a machine designed to make money while keeping the truth just out of sight. Now that you know the secrets, the choice is yours. Will you cruise differently?